Hi, everybody, and welcome. Whenever you hear this radio show, well, it's radio video show, the Dave Emmons Show, and I have a weekly and sometimes two shows weekly, and for everybody to see and actually listen to. And we have different guests. I shouldn't say we. Well, it's not we today. I usually have a co-host sometimes, but it's just me today, and my special guest, Todd Wilcox. And I'll tell you a little bit about Todd, and I'm sure people are going to be interested in this because it has a lot to do with shamanism. It has the afterlife, reincarnation, and UFOs out of body. Todd Wilcox, he's from Utah. I'm not going to give you his address. I don't. I don't ask for addresses anyway. You know how things are; they can dox you. But
Yes.
he's got a master's degree, so he's a academic involved in this research. He's also a speaker, virtual worldwide speaking, and he has slipstreamshaman.com, and that's the website. And he works with, let me get this other sheet out here. I don't work by I don't work by one of these things that Biden has, you know.
Me too.
The author of Slipstream Shaman, that's his book, using quantum healing for individuals, communities, the planet, and beyond. Second Slipstream Shaman book will be published soon. It focuses on trauma release and is geared towards anyone who has suffered abuse, first responders, medical professionals, military, and people who work close to the public. Todd also hosts a radio show on KOAL in Price, Utah. That's not where he lives. Okay, that's not where he lives. he, it's his,
Not worth it.
that's where the radio station at, and it's called My Side of the Universe. And I want to welcome Todd Wilcox to everybody, and greetings, Todd. And could you tell us a little bit more about the what got you started in all this, and some of your background?
Absolutely. Thank you, Dave. Yeah. So this, I guess you would say I've always had an interest in things that were a little bit different. As a little kid, I loved science fiction. I loved looking at the moon. I loved hearing about ghosts and things like that. So I've always been the odd duck that's looking for something new. Aliens. It didn't matter what. I wanted to be involved. And about 15 years ago, I was in a paranormal group, still in that group, but I was on this group that would go out and do ghost investigations. And when you do that, you usually meet other groups. And one of the people in another group invited me to join I wouldn't call it a super group, but a group outside of our own group where we would go help people that nobody else could. If they had a haunting they couldn't get rid of, if they had, if they were worried they had a demon possession or maybe an alien involvement, whatever it was, if another group couldn't help, we would go in and help. And I said, yeah, I would love to do that, but what makes us different? Right now there's people that we go try to help that we can't. So how are we going to be different?
Right.
And the shaman training was one of the things that we did to be different, and that was where this all started. We had a shaman come in teaching us how to find our energy, and she was showing us, put your hands together, you'll start feeling your energy. And the odd thing was she was describing what her energy felt like, and hers was either red or orange, I can't remember which, and hot. And she says it's going to be this color and it's going to be hot. Well, mine was light blue and cool. And it just seemed like everything she was telling us that we should be feeling or being a part of in this training, it was different for me. So I kind of backed away, let the training end, paid attention to what was going on so I could try it on my own later. And that's how this whole thing started, was me finding my energy, covering myself with the energy so I could go to different places and help people that were having trouble, and then using that energy to cleanse a house, to cleanse a person. And it evolved from just a real basic thing to help people with those type of needs to actually finding problems on people through three different teams that I use in the quantum room that I developed.
Right. I think a lot of people, even myself, Todd, this is Mr. Todd Wilcox. I want to just tell people again that, and we're going to talk about his book here before long also, but we we had a glitch, and
Yeah.
but it's common when we start talking about these things. And but shamanism, a lot of people associate that with like Native American Indians or even the African native tribes.
Mhm.
And so it's actually spilling over into, I guess, every race. I mean, it's like you and other people are getting into the shamanism. And are
Sure.
you being taught by Native American Indians or what?
Yeah, it's taught by Native Americans. It's taught by many different people, people from Africa and the Congo and places. But really, when you boil down what is shamanism, a shaman is somebody that does work in a place of energy and spirit. So regardless of what your background is, if you're able to access a place of energy and spirit and work with people, work with energy, that is what a shaman is all about. So um, I would not say that my process is anything like what you would see on a documentary about shamanism, where they're drinking ayahuasca, or they're burying themselves for a couple days, or they're going through sweat lodges. I don't do any of that. Mine's all about meditation and interacting with spirit, directly interacting with spirit and energy, and
Right.
doing it fairly fast, which is also different than most shamanisms. It's not a day or a week process. It's a 20-minute process. When you reach that place, I call it a quantum room, but it's just a place where you can interact with energy and spirit. It's easy to do with some practice, and that's what the book is about, to teach people how to do that.
A lot of people would be interested in that. I find it very interesting myself because of my ET background and
Yes.
abduction. And I from everybody that's talked about all this quantum field theory and things. Now you have a master's degree. Is any of this your studies go into any of this type of thing like psychology or anything like that?
So my bachelor's degree is in psychology,
Okay.
and then I've studied neuro linguistic programming, emotional freedom technique, hypnotherapy. But my master's degree is in business.
Oh,
So yeah, the master's doesn't really apply to this, but just my experience and side training is where this all comes from.
okay. So your research and learning from others and being taught from some of probably these shamans really know what they're doing, are a real good one. I mean, if they're really legit, I mean, they can go into other dimensions and just sit there and just travel and come back and tell you everything that they saw. And that's why they were the spiritual leaders of most tribes or most groups of people. I don't want to narrow it down to tribes or specific races, but it's getting to be shamanism's getting to be accepted everywhere, I guess, right?
Yeah, and people are looking for something different. And I don't want this to sound like I'm saying anything bad about the medical association, but really what they're looking at is, how do we help this person with chemistry, um, or some therapy, in the case of the doctors that work with the mind. But for the most part, it's how do we help this person with chemistry? Well, there's more to it than that. There's the way that the energy works inside of them, the way they interact with their own energy and spirit. And when we ignore that, we miss out and sometimes can't help people. And many times what's happening is a person will be working with a doctor or many doctors, and then when I get involved, I might be that straw that breaks the camel's back. And so now, based on what the doctor's helping them with, and then how I help with energy, everything starts to work right and the people start to heal. So please don't think that I'm saying there's anything wrong with doctors, or that I'm not pretending to be a doctor. But there's something with the energy and the way that you can work with it that makes these changes and helps people. As I started to do this, coincidences started to line up. I'm working with somebody in the hospital that's having these horrible nightmares. As soon as I work with them, the nightmares end. I work with somebody whose dog is about to pass away from the way their liver is set up, and the stuff that the vet has helped them with isn't working. They're about to put the pet down. I step in and help. The dog is fine and still fine 5 years later. All these, and I said it myself, are these just coincidences? Is it just because when I helped, they were all about to get better, or people with heart trouble, they were just about to get better? After a while, you've got to start looking at these coincidences and say, yeah, I had some kind of effect. And one of the things you find when you look at quantum physics is that there's a thing called the observer effect. And anytime that you observe something, you change the course of its you change its course. So
Right.
when you look at something with positive intent, and you look at helping somebody with positive intent, you can't help but help them get better. And so while not everybody I work with has a miraculous cure and things get better, some have, and in fact, many have, but sometimes it's just helps them relax so that they can pass away peacefully. Or, there's a small change that helps them with their other things. So sometimes it's a huge miraculous change. Sometimes it's a minor change, but there's always a change. And we know this because of the observer effect.
I see that they have these, they're always coming out with some kind of gimmicks on TV. And it's a little strap that you can strap around your leg and it'll take away back pain. And what it's doing, it's stopping the nerve energy, I guess. They're playing with energy when they do that. Also, I saw a video and I've heard of this before, and this is why a lot of people walk barefooted on the ground, because they get grounded and that negative energy goes out of them. And I saw a guy where he invented a wire. He sticks a rod in the ground outside and he pulls the wire inside his house and he wraps the wire around his leg and he gets grounded and he feels better and all the pain. Does that work? Is that?
So I'm not overly familiar with that. Now
Yeah.
I've been around electric fences and I understand grounding, so I get a little nervous when people are grounding
Yeah.
themselves like that.
Well, I know a
Um,
guy who peed on one time and he had to go to the emergency room.
yeah. So I would think so, and I can tell you when I do the healings, you just never know what's going to take place in a healing. But many times with the healing, there'll be somebody that just has like really frenetic energy that I'm finding. And this is in a metaphysical state. This is in a quantum state with just energy and spirit. I'm not actually with the person. But what I find is if they're really shaky, really have a lot of energy coursing around them, really anxious, a lot of anxiety, if we do basically what you're saying is in that quantum field, ground them, discharge all that energy, well, now they can breathe and they can relax and they can start healing and start hearing and
Right.
listening and being more involved once you discharge all that extra energy that they've been carrying around. So yes, I would say it does work as far as grounding people. And I've got the most sensitive feet in the world, so I don't know about walking around in barefoot to see if that would help me, because I truly can't. It's hard to walk on even grass
Yeah.
with my feet. So
Yeah.
I can't
You
I
have to
can't
find the bare ground or the dirt. Yeah. Yeah. So I ran out right away and I bought two big giant battery cables. And the wife asked me, "What are you going to do with those?" I said, "I want to hook them in the ground. I want to hook them to my legs." I'm just joking, but I don't know how well that works about grounding. But
yeah.
it's something funny. Maybe it might have some legitimacy to it. Who knows, Todd? I don't know. Uh,
It wouldn't surprise me.
yeah, you talked about lucid dreaming. I know a lot of experiencers, ET
Mhm.
experiencers, abductees have a lot of lucid dreamings, and I've had some
Yes.
very real. Could you tell me about lucid dreaming?
Yeah. So lucid dreaming is when you get to that state where it's not just the dream that you no longer have control over, but you're actually in control of the dream. And you can do anything. You could be a superhero if you want. You can breathe underwater, you can fly into space, you can make changes. And truly, when I'm doing the work, the slipstream shaman type work, it's in that same place. It's through meditation that we get to the same place as a lucid dream, and the same type of thing happens. You're able to do so much more. You're able to help people. And I unfortunately haven't had a lot of lucid dreams. I can remember one from when I was in grade school where I was able to go into this stream, go underwater and travel up the stream and look at all the fish, and there were some salamanders and all kinds of things in this water. And I was just breathing it and happy, and everything was great. I could see really well. I wasn't drowning. It was beautiful. And then the other ones that I've had typically involve me doing anything I want. I can fly, I can go through
Yeah.
fire, I can for years I had nightmares where I was flying a jet and I would hit power lines. And when I was in this lucid dreaming state, and this has been about 10 years ago, I addressed that nightmare, and I was flying and I hit the power lines and nothing happened. And I told myself during that power lines are no longer going to be a problem for me. And I've never had that dream since. And that was one that I'd have, 3 to 5 times a year. And it was horrible to wake up from that dream.
Right.
So when you're in that state, whether it's a lucid dream or the work that I do I call it the quantum, my quantum room, you can make great changes. Lucid dreaming is amazing. And if you can meditate in a lucid dream, you get great answers. If you can meditate in the quantum room, you get great answers. I was searching for my purpose for years. And once I found the quantum room and found I could meditate in there, my purpose finally came to me. For years, I would meditate and, I'd sit down, try to clear my mind, try to breathe right, fall asleep. That was what meditation was. And I never got the answers I wanted. But in this quantum room, I'm able to meditate and actually get the answers I'm looking for. And what I found was my purpose was not this big miraculous thing that was just going to clear the world for me. What it was 2 words, and that was to help. So my purpose is to help. And it's whether it's helping people or animals or communities or the planet beyond, it's to help. So while it may be simple, it's not necessarily easy, but knowing what it is really it helped me have clarity and how to proceed with my life. And when I look back on things, I've always been about helping. I went into the military to help. I started the paranormal team to help. I went to the extra paranormal team to help. Mm-hmm. And all through my life, I'm the guy that when people are running one way away from a problem, I'm running into it. Mm-hmm. And so I've always been about to help. I just didn't realize it. And so yeah, having the ability to go to this quantum room, do my meditations and get answers has been a godsend for me. And I'll show you how to find your quantum room in the book Slipstream Shaman.
Well, that'd be something we can talk about that. That sounds very interesting. I've had lucid dreams, and I know other people have talked to me about it. They'll ask me questions, since I do this radio stuff, and I'll have people ask me questions and comments, and also on Messenger, they'll say, "Oh, what is a lucid dream? Where do I said, okay, from my experience, a lucid dream is something that I can walk up to this ET on a spaceship, in which I have a tall lady, no hair, big eyes, and she was very attractive, wasn't scary. I was able to look her in the face, and I was able to ask her a question, but she just looked at me and just grimaced. And I heard, well, we're too dumb for them to talk to, so they avoid that. But I saw everything in the ship, and I had lucid dreams several times. I mean, several times. Like when I wake up, I thought I better write all this down, and then I think to myself, no, I don't have to. It's there. It's burned in your head, and you don't get it out. That's what a lucid dream does, or a very vivid dream. It burns that memory in there, and you don't lose it. I wasn't in a hurry to write it down. Now, normal average dream, yeah, you better, when you wake up, you better make some notes on what you had a dream about, because it's going to go away. Mm-hmm. Is that the findings that you have?
Yes. And it's funny you say that, because when I'm working, and that may be a difference between the lucid dreams and what I do, because if I don't write these things down when I'm doing a healing for somebody, or I'm doing my meditations, if I don't write it down, it's going to be gone. It's in a place, it takes place in a spot that my human brain can't comprehend. Well, it can comprehend it, but it can't hold on to it. It's too different. Right. And so if I don't immediately make notes, I lose all memory of it. And it's always amazing to me as I'm reading old notes that I've completely forgot about things that happened when I was in that quantum state, where when I've had the lucid dreams, yes, it's 100% burned in my head. So while they do work similar, they've got to be at a different plane of existence, because my brain can't hold stuff that takes place from the quantum room, where it will with a lucid dream.
Right. I'm like you. I make notes. Of course, my background is journalism, so I'm that sticky with notes and stuff. And so I write everything in a ledger, and that's where I drew from my first book. But I remembered it anyway. But at least
Yeah.
I put the dates and times in there in which I can remember mostly. But this helps, like you said. I go back into the ledger, and there are some things in there I wrote in the ledger that I don't really remember. I thought,
Mhm.
wow, but I did remember it after I read it. But that's not a lucid dream. That was kind of a quick dream in which it showed me something, and then I probably remembered it enough to write it in a ledger note, and then I just let it go. But no, the lucid dreaming and the vivid dreams are like for abductees. Have you found that when you talk to an abductee and you get the stories from them?
Yes, and there's eh, virtually every abductee, contactee, whatever they want to be called, talks about having lucid dreams afterwards. And so, yeah, it's a very, very common thing. And the electronic stuff we talked about is another common thing when I talk to people that have been abducted, is that there's electronic devices that just don't work, and you get two of them together, and you're liable to burn up your computer.
Yeah, yeah,
It's amazing, those two similarities that take place with abductees. Very, very similar. They have the lucid dreams. They do have electrical issues, electronics issues.
right.
Their phone is the first one that's going to break. Their computer, not necessarily the computer, but the program for the computers will lock up more on them than a normal person.
Mm-hmm.
Just phone connections. It's
Yeah.
it's crazy the things that happen after the abduction.
I can't press on my keypad on my iPhone. It won't work sometimes. I have to give it to my wife. Said you do it. So she touches it and she does it. And
And it works fine.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the same thing now, like the TV that turns on and off at 7:30 in the morning and switches channels. That does it almost every morning. Didn't do it this morning. There's always mornings they let me go a little bit, but no, this lucid dreaming, vivid dreaming is where I got maybe 30% of my information, but the rest of it I saw it in real time. I mean, there's a connection for most of us experiencers are contactees, in which that's what they're wanting to be called, just like you said. They're
Mhm.
wanting to change that to contactee instead of an abductee, because actually we're kind of asking for it, aren't we, Todd? The consciousness levels.
It's funny you say that. So I've had contactees that tell me I'm not a contactee. This was against my will. I'm an abductee. But most want to go with the contactee, and I can tell you that for years I would joke around and say, "Yeah, I'm going to let the aliens abduct me, and as soon as I get on the ship, I'm going to commandeer it, and I'm going to take it wherever I want, and I'm going exploring." I just make these big jokes, right? And so many people would just be shocked when I'd say that, and just, Todd, you can't make fun of this. That you can't do what you're going to say, and you've got to stop. And that's everybody from contactees, abductees, and even I'm not sure if you're familiar with Dr. David Jacobs, but
Yes,
he's
yes.
done hundreds of hypnotic regressions, and he went cold when I said that to him. He says, "You can't say things like that, Todd. You just can't do this." And then one night I'm traveling, and I love staying at those little motels on the side of roads. They're shaped like an L.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes there's a swimming pool out front. Sometimes it's been filled in. But yeah, I love those little old things. Most of them were made in the 50s. And I'm staying in one of those. Look out the back window, and I can see a few broken down vehicles, some abandoned refrigerators and washers and dryers and stoves and things, just kind of a garbage heap behind it. And looked out the window, then sat down, and I can't remember what all I did, but I went to bed, and somewhere during the night I wake up, and the whole back wall's gone where that window was, where I looked out into that field. And through that wall is walking many different things. There was four different size grays. There was very short ones, very tall ones. There was the classic praying mantis looking one. There was the Nordics, and there was this thing that looked kind of like an energy ball, like a tumbleweed of energy moving around. There was all kinds of things came into that room. They made me get up out of bed and stand by them. They kind of surrounded me, and they made it clear that what I was doing and saying was not funny, and that it needed to stop, and that I could not take over one of their ships, and I needed to quit making fun of it right now. And to drive the point home, they told me, you're going to be violently sick for 3 days. And then they left. I watched them go back through that empty spot in the wall, and then once they were gone, the wall came back, and I started feeling sick, and I was violently ill for 3 days, just like they said, to the point I almost went to the hospital thinking that I had radiation poisoning.
Wow. Did you have any skin marks or any damage to your skin?
Nothing that I could find. It might have been on my back and I just didn't see it, but yeah, nothing I could find. And no, how sometimes you get hurt on your back and you know that there's something there.
Right.
There was nothing like that. There was no itchy place, no painful place. So there may have been something. And with all and we talked about nose troubles that we've had, with all the trouble I've had with my nose, it wouldn't shock me that there'd be something in there. So yeah, there's things going on that we don't understand, and I certainly I don't make fun of it anymore. I do talk about it, and they haven't come back to get me. So I'm thinking the way I'm talking about it now is respectful enough, and a warning that they're probably happy about me sharing it, and not making fun of it.
Yeah, I met Dr. David Jacobs at a convention in Arkansas, and he's a real nice guy, and he just got done with his speech, and I was talking to him about my abductions, and I told him I was electrocuted. I heard all the static behind me, and I got frozen. I was paralyzed, and I said I pushed away one time, and I said I pushed back at him, and he laughs at me. I said, "Doctor, are you making fun of me?" He said, "No." He said, "I'm laughing because you and everybody else have the similar experiences." And he said, "That's when they're done with you. When you feel the electrical charges," he said, "they're done with you. They've taken you and they're bringing you back." I said, "Oh,
Yeah.
really?" So that's how. And so I got that straight with. Yeah, he's a great guy, but yeah, but the lucid dreams always happen around 3 o'clock in the morning. Is there a particular time that people dream?
Yeah, and that's a really good question. And for me, unfortunately, I tend to fall asleep very easy and very fast, but then I wake up, and I'm most nights awake between 2 and 3:30, 4 o'clock. But I have talked to a lucid dream, and I've gone blank on his name, and a lucid dream expert guy that did mention that there was a time of night that seems to be the most common, and I want to say it was somewhere between 2 and 4. And now that you say that, I'm almost wondering and need to investigate why is that the time that I wake up when many people have their lucid dreams? Why am I waking up? What's causing that? Is something stopping me from having a lucid dream where I could do things? Where you're just so much more effective in a lucid dream than you are at any other time in your life. I'm curious what's causing me to wake up, and I'm going to have to investigate that.
Is that a deep sleep cycle, REM sleep, that you fall into maybe around 3 or 4 o'clock, or is that one that you have the visitors?
When I had the visitors was that time that I'm many times awake between 2 and 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, not during the times that I typically sleep very good between 10 and 2 and 4 and 5:30 when I have to get up. Yeah, it took place during the time that I'm usually awake, and that's interesting.
Yeah, I would like to, like the people out there is probably going to ask questions. I guess really quickly wrapping up this lucid and vivid dream thing, could you tell, in a scientific way, I guess in the way that you've been trained and what you've been through, could you tell the audience what is the difference between lucid, vivid, and a regular dream? I just said, well, a regular dream, you don't remember it, but could you tell me any other differences?
Sure. And sometimes you'll remember bits and pieces of it, but they kind of don't make sense.
Right.
A regular dream, you normally don't have control of. You're just kind of flowing with things. You can see people that but they don't look right.
Mm.
It's your neighbor or whatever, or a friend from school, You know it's them, you know it's their name, you know it's their voice, but they don't look like that person, but you still just know it's them in a regular dream. And you go where the dream wants you to go.
Right.
With a lucid dream, you're in control of it. You see things vividly. You many times feel heat and cold.
Mhm.
You notice light source difference. You can read. Typically, in a dream, you can't read anything, but
Right.
in a lucid dream, you can, and that's one of the big differences. And then um, you can in a lucid dream, you can do anything. If you want to fly out of our off our planet and go straight through the sun, you can. If you want to transport yourself to another galaxy, you can. If you want to swim to the bottom of the ocean, you can.
Mhm.
You can do anything you want in a lucid dream. You're a beyond superhero in one of those.
That's good explanation. I like that. While we're filming this, and I know the audience will see it, and when we release it, there's a round white circle on your glasses. And is that coming from somewhere? Oh, I
We're
see.
gonna make that go away.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
my terrible attempt at lighting.
Okay. No, I thought it was kind of an alien thing that they were reading your mind, and it was circling, it was kind of moving around a little bit. So
Yeah,
okay, what is that? So,
that would have been a better explanation. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
okay.
just
Yeah,
I need better lighting.
yeah, we should have ran with that, shouldn't we? Yeah. But no, now let's get into afterlife and reincarnation. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So during the course of my radio show and just my fascination and talking to different people, the afterlife, I am 100% convinced that we do have an afterlife. Starting the radio show, the bucket list that I had was one of the things was that I wanted to have people like pet psychics, those kind of things. I wanted to know what happened to pets when they pass away. What I should have just done was look in their eyes. You can't look in a dog's eyes or a cat's eyes or a horse's eye and not know that there's something more than just a physical body there. You can see the soul when you look in their eyes. And so it was important to me to find that out, so I can relax about the dogs that had passed. And so once I had talked to a few of the pet psychics, and actually they told me some things that uh, from my pets, I that was what convinced me that there was an afterlife.
Right.
100% convinced me, even though I'd already had a near-death experience. What convinced me that there was an afterlife was knowing that the pets were giving information to these psychics for me.
Right.
So that was what changed for me. So yeah, I believe 100% in afterlife, and I think it's very similar to a lucid dream where it's what you want to make it. You can do anything. As I'm talking to different people that have had near death experiences, I mean the big whopper ones where they see people and they interact. What they're doing almost every time is they're seeing family, but they're also interacting with what they believe religion wise, many of them. So the people that go to church with Jesus will many times see Jesus or one of his disciples. The people that study Islam will see those people.
Right.
The people that study the different whatever religion they study, they're going to see the people that they've learned about. And so it leads me to believe that they're the master of their universe when they leave. So and then that kind of rolls into past lives, and I used to think about it as a linear progression. We had a past life in the 1400s and then in the 1600s and whatever. Now because of the interactions that I'm having doing the work I do in the quantum room, time doesn't work the same when we get away from our physical bodies. So right now, time, we're talking, we're going to talk for an hour or, whatever the case may be, and we can see how that progresses. When you get into that place of energy and spirit, time doesn't work the same way. When I write my notes, and in the books that I'm doing, the one that's out, as well as the ones that will be coming out, when I write down the experiences that I have so I can share it with people that are reading, I don't, the words I use in the same sentence even have present tense, past tense, future tense,
Mhm.
and they all make sense for what I saw and felt and was a part of. But it doesn't read right. For people that read English, it's got to be in the future tense or present tense or past. But it's so jumbled in there that even though it's not right English grammatically, it's right for what I experienced. So that just tells me that time's completely different. If you, one of the ways that, and I can't remember who brought this up, but if you take a string of spaghetti, a wet noodle,
Mhm.
and you hold it out, that's what time looks like to us right now. But if you put that whole spaghetti noodle into your palm and just kind of wad it up, how different sides are touching each other and different parts of it, it's kind of that's closer to how time behaves in the energy and spirit realm. It's all happening at once. And so I would say, for me, the way I understand things as far as um, reincarnation, and that is, it feels more like it's all happening at once, that there's some kind of guiding um, soul, and I'm part of that guiding soul in this body experiencing this right now.
Mhm.
And there might be another 20 out there at different times in our Earth's timeline doing the same thing, but I don't get the feeling anymore that it works in a linear way like we're used to time working, that it's more just it's all just compacted and happening more at the same time.
Right. To flash back a little bit, I've looked in horses' eyes and I can see that deepness in their eyes mostly. And it's kind of scary. When you look into their eyes, it seems like you can really see some things. And secondly, uh, there are ghost pets that run around. People have seen pets that are ghosts. So there
Mhm.
must be some kind of connection, a dimensional thing. And your out of body experience or your near death experience, could you elaborate on that?
Sure. So when I was in high school, I had a whopper of a hernia, a pretty bad hernia, and I was embarrassed about it, and I didn't tell my parents about it for a long time. And when, for those in sports, you would usually get a physical at the start of the year, and that physical was good for all the sports for the entire year.
Mhm.
So I got a physical at the start of the year, went through the cross country season, and somewhere during that, I got a hernia. I worked for my stepdad doing construction, doing framing, and I think I probably did it there, or I might have done it in the weight room. I'm not sure. But I started seeing this thing, and then I went through the whole wrestling season with it, and finally saw a thing on TV about testicular cancer, and so I finally told my parents, and then it turned out to be this huge um, hernia. And I went to the hospital, and this was back in like 79, maybe 80. And when you had a hernia operation, then you were in the hospital for a long time. I you stayed there for like 5, 6, 7 days afterwards.
Mhm.
And I went and I was taken in the operating room, and I can remember the doctor telling me, okay, you know how they count backwards on TV? I said,
Mhm.
yeah. He says, it doesn't work that way. As soon as I push this plunger, you're going to sleep. And I thought to myself, oh, I'm going to fight it. This isn't going to work on me.
Yeah.
And I watched him squeeze that plunger, and he didn't push it that far, and I was out. I was gone. And then sometime later, I left my body during the surgery, moved over to the corner, kind of the corner of the room, went up a little higher so I could look down, and I watched the anesthesiologist yelling at the doctor, and the surgeon, and the surgeon yelling at the anesthesiologist. One of the nurses ran out of the room, and I don't know what she went to do, but there was just absolute chaos. And I saw somebody else move towards my body, and they started doing something. I don't know if it was changing the drugs or if they started doing CPR. Something happened, and I got pulled back into my body, and I was gone. The anesthesia was working at that point. And the next day, the surgeon came through with a nurse, and they were doing their rounds, checking on people. And when he checked on me, I asked him, I said, so how long did I die? He says, what? And he turns just white,
Yeah.
absolutely white. And I
They
said,
don't want you to know
well,
that. Yeah.
yeah, during the operation, I died and I was watching you guys yelling at each other. No, 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 that didn't happen. Nothing like that happened. Everything was fine. You had a good, clean surgery. Everything was fine. And he never came back to check on me. We talked about it for a minute, and I wasn't trying to cause any trouble. I was really curious. And the rest of the time I was in the hospital, a different surgeon checked on me. And then several weeks later, when I went to get the sutures taken out, it was a different surgeon. I never saw that guy again. He wouldn't have anything to do with me, and you could tell that he was freaked out by my question. He went white as a ghost,
Right.
like almost transparent, where you could see his veins. It was that bad.
Now, when you went into that out of body experience, did you see any relatives or people that you knew?
No, it was really disappointing that way. I didn't see the tunnel. I just moved out and just moved to the corner of the room and watched. I didn't really leave. I didn't have any. I don't recall any contact. Um, so yeah, mine was one of the minor ones, and it's really disappointing. I wish I could tell you that, yeah, I saw all kinds of people and had interactions, but I didn't, and it was just me watching.
There's a couple of deja vu moments in your conversation here. I joked around with a anesthesiologist one time, and he said, "Well, when I push this down, like you said, he shoots it in. He said, you're going to be gone." He said, count backwards from 10. He asked me to do that, so I did, and I told him, I said, "I'll make you a bet, doctor." I said, I bet you will not knock me out as fast as you think you will." He said, "Oh," and he laughs. He looks over at the doctor and said, "Okay, wise guy here, you know." So he starts pushing it down. We counted back to 10, and I was done with the 10. I looked at him. I said, "What's going on?" I said, "I told you." And he looks at his thing and he keeps pushing it. And he said, "Now count backwards from 5." And I counted backward from 5, and I was still awake. And then he said, "This is going to do it." He said, "Goodbye." And he shoots it down, and I was gone. But no, I had a near death, and I saw clouds. I was floating in clouds, and they give me this morphine and anesthetic in my knee. I had a knee surgery. They give me morphine, in which I was allergic to, is what they said, but the doctor told me they overdosed me. Well, I got really sick that night after the surgery, and I don't normally get sick after surgery. And the next morning, the anesthesiologist come in with a nurse, and he said, "You had a bad time." He said, "You remember that?" I said, "Yes, I do." And I said, "I was really sick." He said, "Do you remember what went on?" I said, "Yeah, you called a code. A code means a heart attack." And so they were pounding on my chest, and they had about 3 nurses and about 2 or 3 doctors there. And they were just pounding on my chest, my arms and everything. And they was talking about the blood pressure dropping, and I heard the machine dropping, dropping, dropping. And they said, "Give him another, I guess, whatever they give you, that another shot." I used to remember what it was, but they gave me a couple of shots and brought my heart back. But all I remember, I was in dream world. I was feeling great. I was floating around the clouds, like you were talking about flying and stuff.
Yeah.
So they admitted it to me the next morning. Yes, they talked. They said, "Yeah, we almost lost you," and I said, "Well, I kind of figured that." I said, "I'm glad I'm here." He said, "Yeah, you are." But no, that's what happens. But you do feel good when you're out of
Yes.
body, you're traveling. You get away from all this stress and your body aches and pains. So that'll give people some enlightenment too, that we do go another side, like you're saying, that do have another life after this. Could you explain that a little bit to people? Like,
Yeah.
where do we go? Do you know?
I don't know what I'm hoping is that we go to a place where, some religions talk about you're going to have your own kingdom, your own celestial kingdom. And what that means to me is that we have control once we're out of our physical body, that we have control to do anything we want. And from my perspective as somebody with a physical body, what I want to do is be able to go explore the galaxy. I want to be able to go to the different stars. I want to look at different planets. I want to see the different life that is out there. That's what I'm excited about. And so I believe we go to a place where we have control, and whatever that whatever that special place is for you, I think is where you're going to go and what it's going to be. And it might be you go to a place like Burgess Meredith on the Twilight Zone. He would probably go to a place where he just had lots of books to read.
Yeah.
And for me, it's to explore, and for some people, it might be to swim and or to create new things. So yeah, I think everybody is going to go to a special place, and we can probably interact with each other. But I think we're in a place that we are absolutely in control of and in charge of, and can make it whatever we like, even though we can still interact with other people's worlds.
Will we be in a physical body, or will we be in an energy body?
I feel like it's more of an energy body. And as I say that, or as I would think it, you think, well, that's going to leave us out on so many things, touch, smell, those kind of things. But I think we still have all that. I think it's more of an energy body, and maybe when we interact with some people, we form more of a physical body for that contact. I'm not sure exactly how that all works, but I would say that it's more of an energy, a spirit and energy level place, much like a lucid dream, much like the quantum room that I go to, that I talk about, teach people.
They say we're born with choices, and we actually chose to come into this human life, and actually chose our parents and chose our birth, right, or whatever. And then we're talking about reincarnation. I know you know a little bit about that too. And so what happens if we don't go there into the spiritual body and travel the universe? Can we decide to come back through as a human?
I think so. And that's, sometimes that's all that gets people through the day is when they think about these things, realizing I chose this, and I chose this for a reason, and I need to learn these things. So what am I supposed to be learning right now? They're going through some hardships. Maybe they lost their job. Maybe they broke their bones. Maybe their house burned down. Who knows? Or they lost a child or a pet. But knowing that you made the decision to come to this life and live the framework of the life, I think we come here and we have a framework of what we're going to do. There's certain things we're going to do, but there's many decisions and learning opportunities in each one of those parts of the tree that we come for. The tree seems to work right for me when I think of it. So we come here for a certain experience, and then we grow and develop based on how we respond to each experience. But yeah, I think we choose it. I think we even choose our name. So, and I try to explain that, when I talk to people that hate their name, I said, you know what, you picked it, and love it. There's a reason you chose it. Just accept it and be happy with it.
Oh, yeah. I know we chose our parents and our lifestyle. I didn't know about the name. That's a little detail I didn't think about, but it's true. It kind of sticks with us, and it comes from our own psyche. But this is where reincarnation, I guess, is kind of like a recycle, and then that goes into past lives. We live past lives and reincarnation. What's the difference there?
So and again, the way I'm starting to get more of it's all happening at once instead of past, even though it's taking place in what our minds call the past, I think it's kind of happening at the same time. And so you've got your reincarnation, and that's why I think there's a bigger part of us than just our consciousness. I think we're attached to something bigger than us, whether we call it spirit or God or universe or whatever. And everything that we learn is put into there, put into that bigger entity than we are, and we still are ourselves, and we're growing and developing and becoming a bigger and bigger entity. But the reincarnation is about learning, and I think we do it in the past lives again about learning. And there's things that we could be learning over and over again. There's things in this life that maybe we're paying for something we did in another life, whether we call it a past life or a concurrent life. But there's a lot going on, and it honestly, it makes my head hurt to think about all the things that it could be.
The more you learn, the more it hurts. Yeah,
exactly.
Could you? I mean, there's always controversy about, is there a heaven and hell?
Yeah, and I think I don't know about the hell part. And people say, well, you can't have one without the other. And I've heard people say, um, yes, there's heaven and hell, and what we're actually living right now is the hell part of it.
Yeah, I think so.
Um, and that the heaven is so much better. So I really don't believe that there is that fire and brimstone place. I think that's a construct that was developed to keep people in line and to behave.
Right.
So I don't think that we have that to be afraid of. But I do believe that there's just this crazy cool place of energy and spirit that we're going to go to when we're no longer in this body, that we can really do anything we want and see anybody we want and interact with all our pets and and all the things we want to do, and that's the heaven part to me.
Right. This out of body and also the near death, that does makes you feel so good. So if it really makes you feel good, just having a sample or taste of it, then
Mm-hmm.
actually it's telling you that life after this and is going to be great. I mean, we're going to be in heaven and we're gonna live a good life, like you said, flying and feeling like we're flying all the time. And that is a freedom feeling. I tell you, I've had those dreams before. But let's get into this quantum healing. I know a lot of people are into that too. And it says
Yes.
in your book here, it says take a journey into the quantum field with the slipstream shaman and learn to use your natural abilities in quantum healing. You're saying that you can instruct people to do their own quantum healing?
Yes. Yeah, and that's what this book is for. It's a couple different parts. Uh, the first part is a description of how I do it. And I also want people to know that I show you how I do it, but that doesn't mean it's the exact way for you. Just like that shaman was telling us that the energy was red and hot, where mine was light blue and cool.
Right.
I want you to find your way. I'm going to give you a framework that you can follow to do the same things I do, and to start doing it right now. As soon as you get the book, you can read the processes that I use and start using them in less than an hour. You can already start doing it. If you want to read the entire book, you're going to be done in 3 hours, and that would be the processes and then what I share of experiences and some other things in there. So 3 hours in, the book's done, and you're practicing it. So yes, I do believe everybody can do it, but understand everybody's is different.
Right.
My quantum room looks like I'm inside a dark cloud, a storm cloud. It's just energy moving around and it's dark. Other people that do their room, as they're talking to me about it, as I'm helping them learn, they one walks down steps to a pond. Some are in the ocean underwater. Some are in outer space. One's on the moon. One's in a car that he loves. Everybody's quantum room's different. Everybody's energy looks different. So please, as you're reading it, don't be afraid to be a little bit different. And if something's not ringing true about what I'm saying in the book, adjust it a little bit until it does.
Right.
Then, once it resonates with you, that's when you're on the right track. And everybody's different. Everybody's energy is different. And I think their energy changes. Mine started out as a light blue, and then over time, it evolved into something that looks like this. This is the book, Slipstream Shaman, and you can barely see the hands. And then that's very similar to what my energy looks like. It looks like a sparkler, or maybe if you shined a bright light through a diamond. That's what it looks like now. And I don't know why it changed, and I don't know what the change means. But when I first started doing it, it was light blue and kind of looked like a ball. Now it's just more of light, and everybody's is different. I've talked to people that have slow moving gold. It's kind of like honey. One young lady has multiple color streamers that just fly out of her hands. Other people, there's some people with warm energy and some with cool energy, but everybody's energy is different, and it's okay that it's different.
Is
And your
that the
quantum room.
is that the aura spectrograph they give? I mean, they used to do that, and they could tell your color of your aura. Does that have anything to do with what you're talking about?
I have not tested to see if what they're seeing and feeling matches up with that. So I know of the pictures you're talking about, but I haven't tested it to see if like my energy would, if I did one of those spectrographs, if it would come out looking like what I see.
Right.
So I don't have that answer, but it may be something similar. But yeah, everybody's color is different. Everybody's the feel of their energy is different. Some look like a ball. Some are just a glowing mass. Some, like I said, shoot energy everywhere. Some look like dripping honey. So it's, yeah, everybody's energy is different, and it's just fun to see the differences.
I've heard stories. I had a guy tell me a story about he ran into an alien gal and she was very attractive, come to him, and he said he wasn't that handsome of a guy, and why she picked to sit down with him. And then she told him, she said, I can see the color of your aura. Your aura is green. And she said, see that guy over there sitting over there? His aura is black. I wouldn't mess with him. And so she said, I'll meet you later. And so he didn't think she'd meet him, but she knocked on his hotel door that morning about 1 o'clock, and she went in there just for I think, getting pregnant, basically.
Mm.
And yeah, so these aliens can see your aura and your color, and they know what kind of character or what kind of a spirit you have. So yeah, that's pretty close to that. Could you tell us more about your book and this, and how people can make themselves feel better on maybe some quick advice?
Sure. So anyway, to get the book, the best way to do it is to go to my website or to go straight to Amazon, and just, if you go to my website, it's slipstreamshaman.com, or if you go to Amazon, just search Slipstream Shaman. Excuse me, it's in either hardback, not hardback, but paperback or on Kindle. You can get it either way. And really just, you'll be going very soon. You'll be doing the processes. So what I teach, just a second. I've talked too much and hurt my throat today.
Yeah, right. You get dry when you do that.
Yeah. So in a nutshell, the first thing we do is learn to access our energy. We use that energy for protection. We use the energy. Apparently a demon's trying to get out, or an alien. And so we use the energy to protect ourselves. We use it to protect others. And we use it to access energy. Once you find your energy, you're able to build a quantum room where you can interact with spirit and energy. And when I say room, it may not look like a room. It may just look like a place to be. Like I said, mine just looks like mist moving around. Other people's has really, really beautiful things. And I think the difference is mine just came to me. Theirs, they created. So mine was what it was. That's just how it manifested and showed itself. Where other people are, because of me showing them how to find it and build it, they're building what they want, making it look like they want.
And they study their chakras also. Now, your radio station, that we're running low on time now. So your radio station is your radio host on My Side of the Universe, right?
Mm-hmm. On KOAL out of Utah. And if you search My Side of the Universe, it'll come up. There's about 150 of the episodes or you can get to. There's some on my website, the Slipstream Shaman website. And then also shows like this, we put links on at my website so people can see it. And what I would encourage people to do is, if they want to get in touch with me, there's an email link on my website. And also, if you go to Instagram and follow me at Slipstream Shaman on Instagram, follow me there. That's when you're going to learn about all the new things we're doing. We have a thing called Polymedella, and that's many healings. And so when I do a big group healing, we'll talk about it on Instagram first to let people know where to find it.
Right. Yeah. Go to that website, go to your radio station and get the book. And we're running out of time. We're out of time now. The guest were great. This was interesting. We could go another hour, 2 hours with Todd Wilcox, and take a look at his website and take a look at his book. This is the Dave Emmons Show, and we are glad that you've been here and listening to this. Hope you enjoyed Todd as much as I have. Thank you, Todd, very much.
Bye. Thank you, Dave. It was fun.